Hey crafters, thanks for joining me today. Today I'm going to show you how to make 4 cards using the Taylor Expression Slimline stencils. So first what we're going to do is we're going to take a white piece of paper and we're going to trim it down to 10 inches by 7.5 inches. That way we can stencil on the design very easily to create 4 different cards. Then, while we're doing that, I went in and took my pencil and just put a little mark where the middle of the paper is. And then I marked it on the 7.5 where 3.5, sorry, not 3.5, 3 3/4 is. And then I'm going to take my stencil and I'm going to place it on the mat, and I'm just going to kind of line it up how I want it to be. And we're going to just use the one stencil in the middle, which is actually a tree stencil. I'm going to use 2 different colors. I'm going to use from Hero Arts is Moss and Pine, and you want to take the lighter color first and just stencil it on, ink blending it. This will take most of the time to create these cards is the ink blending. And you want to just take circle motions to go back and forth and ink blend them on. You're going to use the stencil 4 times on the one piece of paper. Now you can use this with any stencils or any stamps. You could do this with stamps or whatever you like, but you're just going to stencil on the softer color first, and then you want to stencil on the darker color. There are 4 stencils to the Slimline Christmas pack from Taylor Expression, and as you see here, I'm just lining it up. No real measurements here. You could measure stuff out and make sure it's all lined up evenly, but I just eyeballed it to make it. While you're ink blending, this would be a good time to watch a movie or something else, but this is what's going to take forever, is the ink blending. The other option is with the ink blending stencils, since there are 4 different stencils, you could use lunar paste on one of the stencils. You can use glitter paste, you could use paste, whatever. The options are unlimited to what you want to do. Just let your creativity flow. Like I said, these are actual stencils that you could make 3 slimline cards, but I thought it would be neat to take it up and use one of the stencils to make 4 cards. And this is something cool that you could do if you needed to make 4 or more, or like say you need a bunch of cards. You could do this and get 4 cards out of one piece of paper. So I'm just lining it up again to the best I can to get where I want. And you can always move it once you see. Now, using these stencils, I would suggest using stencils that's easy to line up without using the marks. So here I'm just ink blending, and then I will line up the other stencils to the leaves, and it's easy to see. If you use stencils that you really need to use the lineup marks, that might be a little more difficult. So again, just ink blending. So now I'm going to take the second stencil and use the darker color. As you can see, I'm just lining it up to where I want it, and I'm going to use the pine color from Hero Arts. Now I am using the same brush. If you have different color brushes for the different color inks, that's fine. However, since I'm using a darker green, you didn't really have to rub it off, but I decided to rub it off anyways, just to get a little of the color off. And again, this is what's going to take the most of the time, is the ink blending process. But the cards come out really neat and amazing. The ones I showed you at the beginning of the video, I used red, but in this video, I decided to use blue. I did wish I would have used a different color blues. I think on my brush I didn't clean off the color beforehand, so it was a little too dark, and the ink blending kind of looked like the same blue, but the cards still came out pretty cool. And it looks like I'm having a trouble with my camera glitching. I'm sorry about that, but It's really just the ink blending process, so it's not really much you need to see with that. So sorry about the glitching. Hopefully next video won't have as much glitching. Again, you're just going to turn the stencil and ink blend all 4 sides. Now you could use any stencil you want. I wanted to go with the tree. I did want to try it with the flowers. I might try that later on. But as of right now, I just did the ink blending with the Christmas tree. There's 4 stencils in all in the packet. There are different ones, like birthday ones, leaf ones, but since Christmas is coming up, I thought it'd be neat to show you guys how to create a Christmas one using very simple techniques and very easy to create. You can make this card look as exquisite as you want or as simple as you want, and I kind of did that a little bit here. You can add as much as you want. You could even go in and add more ink blending. You could have used the other one and added the bird to it. That would be neat. The sky's the limit on creativity with these stencils, and again, I just wanted to show you guys how to use the stencils to create something different besides the slim line. So next up are the stencils that have the berries. Now this is stencil number 3, and I was trying to line up the stencils. As you can see, I lined it up a little wrong, so you're going to have to figure out where they are and move them around. Again, these are pretty simple to line up. The circles match really well. So those were the 2 blues I used, and as you can see, I'm using a smaller stencil, and the blues kind of came out the same color. I mean, there's a slight difference into the darkness and light, but I really wish it would have been a huge difference, but it was not. But that's okay. So we're just going to go with it, and you can use big brushes or little brushes. I decided to use the little brushes here to make it just easier to do the little circles. But again, you're just going to sit here and do all 4 sides. This is the last stencil of the berries. Now here you could have some fun with that, and like I said, you could add glitter, you could add lunar paste, you could add white paste, you could add anything to the last stencil. You can even stencil it on and then go back and add glitter or whatever you want. So again, this is where you could do how you want here. However, I decided just to use the distressed oxide again, or not oxide, sorry, the distressed ink again, and just fill in the circles with the other blue that I had chosen. Blending, we're going to take our paper and we're going to trim it down. We're just going to cut it into fours. So we're going to take that white paper that was 7.5 by 10 and we're going to cut it down to 3 3/4 by 5. That will give us a front panel for our A2 size card. So here you can see I'm cutting it and I'm having a glitch in my video again, which stinks, but it is what it is. So hopefully it will clear up. Again, we're cutting this into fours, so technically you're just going to cut it and make sure that it is 3 3/4 by 5, and that gives you your 4 panels. And I'm just going to adhere those to A2 size cards at the end, and I did use black panels, which you'll see later on. Here I'm going to get my scissors, and I had a little bit of trouble. I need to replace my blade on my cutter, and you can't see this, it's actually off screen, but I am just kind of cutting it a little bit to get the little white fuzzies off. I do need to replace my blade, so I will be doing that here soon. But here are the 4 panels after I cut the little fuzzies off of the edges to the cards, and you can see that they are 4 panels, and 2 are the same and the other 2 are the same. So now we're going to take those away and we're going to stamp using the Gina K Merry Christmas stamp from the Crop and Create box that I got for the fall. And we're going to use black ink to stamp on the Merry Christmas. So what I'm going to do here is I'm using my We Are Memories Maker platform to stamp this. So I'm going to line this up on this one and make sure I know where I line the card base up so I can line up the second one to the card and just put it right where it is on the second one. As you can see, I'm still having problems with my video. Hopefully it will clear up. I do want it to look very intense black, and I figured out during this video that I'm running out of black ink, so I am going to have to get more black ink. So I've stamped it about 3 times. Now here's my second panel, and I'm going to stamp it exactly in the same spot. Again, I will stamp it about 3 times just to get it very intense. Now you could use whatever stamps here you want. You don't have to add a stamp. You could add any kind of sentiment you want. However, I just wanted to show you how simple it would be to create 4 easy cards for Christmas. If you needed to make bulk cards, you could sit here and do all these cards just like this and whip them out super quick. So you could technically be done with this card. Now on the other cards, I am going to, again, clean off my stamp using a stamping shimmy from Mon Fawn, and I'm going to line it up and stamp the other side. However, on this 2 panels, I decided to try the Merry Christmas in blue because you want a blue Christmas. So here I'm using the, I think it was Mermaid Lagoon blue color. It might not be, I'm not quite sure, I can't remember, but I am just using blue ink here to stamp on the Merry Christmas. And I'm again want it very dark and crisp, so I am stamping it 3 times to get it that way. Again, I'm sorry that my video is glitching. I'm going to have to figure out why it did that during recording. Since I lined this panel up this way, I'm going to be able to take the second panel and line it up right in between where I lined up the last one and stamp away. Again, I just stamped it 3 times to make sure it was nice and clean and crisp, so that way you can see it instead of having not as crisp as lines. Again, I think my blue ink was running out, so I'm going to have to get a re-inker for the blue ink. We're now done with the stamping. So technically you could be done with these 4 panels just like they are. You could have them matted onto the black and then put on your card base. However, I decided to use the SpellBinders again, dies from that we got from Crop and Create for this September, and add just a little bit to 2 of the cards. I did leave 2 of them pretty simply and plain, so that way you could see how to do it. So I'm just going to take the rose, I think it was the Rosetta, or the Christmas flower. Now, as you can see here in the video, I put the Sizzix machine on my thing and I pushed it. I got this tool from Amazon and it's amazing. It has the wax tip to it and then it has a little poker at the end. And I got 2 on Amazon. I will link that below. Here I'm just going to run white paper through to make the flower. Poinsettia. It's a poinsettia. I remembered the flower. So I'm going to run that through 4 times using the white paper with the poinsettia thing. Again, I'm going to end up moving my Sizzix so that way it does not move my thing. But again, just 4 of these because I'm going to create 2 of that, and then I'm going to take the leaves and run that through using green paper 4 times to get the pine or the leaves to go with the flower. Now that that is done, I'm going to take my glue and glue the flowers together so that way it gives it a double look to it instead of just using one. I'm just going to use a little bit of glue and add the flowers. these on this one, and then I'm going to glue the flower on to the next one. When I do the next space, I will actually cut off a little bit of the leaf stem so that way it's not so high to cover. It's easier to cover just the little leaves. On this one, I left the stem. It is totally up to you how you would like to do that. And then on this one, I'm going to glue, like I said, I cut just a little bit off on the stem. You will see it as I glue it down, so that way I don't have as much to cover. You could completely be done with these cards just the way they are. You could add this, you could use pop-up dots, you could do whatever you want. You could make this as elaborate as you would like or as simple as you like. Here I just wanted to show you how adding a little bit of die cuts to it would create the two panels. On this next panel, I wanted to keep it really simple, so after doing all the stamping and the ink blending, I decided to use the watercolors I have gotten from Hobby Lobby, and I was going to use just the gold. However, after I saw the gold, I decided to use the red too. So I'm using gold right here to splash onto the card front, and then I'm going to go back and use the red and splash on the red. Here I'm just using a simple water brush that already has water in it, dropping a lot of water into the color and then flicking it on. And that is all I did to this card base for now. See the little splashes? Ain't that cute? And then we have the last panel. So I'm going to make sure I clean my surface to make sure there's no paint on there, to make sure there's no black. So now we're going to take an A2 size card, and I've already cut the black down to 4 inches by 4 inches by 5 1/4 of an inch. And I'm going to adhere the one panel on to the black. I just use my tape runner, however you can use glue if you want. And there's one card base. Now again, I'm going to take that and add it to the A2 card. And this card could be completely finished right here. As you can see, it could be completely finished, and you could have 4 cards simply made by doing the ink blending and the stamping. However, I wanted to try something different with this one, so I took the last stencil. Now I do suggest cleaning off the stencil, because when I did this without cleaning off the stencil, the ink blended a little bit, bled through. So I'm just going to take, I would suggest wiping it off. Here I'm taking a post-it note to make sure it doesn't get on the black, and I'm going to just take a little bit of the the glitter glue, and I'm going to put some over the dots, and then I'm going to take a credit card and just wipe it down to add the glitter. Again, I do suggest wiping off the excess ink blend so that way it doesn't smudge. However, it still looked good. Here I'm wiping off the stencil for the second time, and again I'm just lining up the dots. Now you would like to let it dry, however, since I only had 2 dots, I just basically held it in place and added the glue. And again, you could be done with this, which I think, no, I did add extra embellishments. So here you can add just the glitter. However, I wanted to add the extra embellishment, so I got these embellishments. They're basically gold pearls from Amazon. You get like 6 different sizes, I think. I don't know. You get a bunch of different sizes, and they were only like a couple of dollars. So I'll link that below, but I'm going to take these and embellish the card. So again, I'm just adding the gold embellishments on using my glue, and as you can see, my video decided to glitch again. And I just kind of put these wherever I wanted them to, kind of sporadically out, I can't talk, throughout the card. For the next panel, we're going to again take a black panel and the ink blending panel and adhere it together. Now here's where you could technically take this panel and you could use foam tape or 3D tape and add dimension to it. However, I just wanted to keep it flat. I am going to add 3 tiny gold embellishments to the center of the flower and then decided to use more embellishments. My glue was not working, so I had to fix that. Now I decided to use some of the dewdrop embellishments that I got from Amazon. These came in a pack of like 6 different sizes. And we're just going to add them to the berries. After the glue dries, you will be able to see the ink through the dewdrops, and it makes them look really pretty. Now for the last panel, again taking an A2 size card, a black panel and the ink blended panel, we're just going to adhere them together. Now this one I really wanted to keep very simple, so all I did with this one is add a little bit of a gold pearl to the center of the flower. Again, you could leave it just as is or add more embellishments, whatever you wanted. But I really wanted to keep it simple and just add that sweet little thing there. Now, this is the last one. It is the one that we had watercolored on, so I wanted to let it dry before I taped it on. But again, I'm just adhering it to a black panel and then the black panel to the A2 size card. Again, I wanted to keep this one simple and sweet, so I just added it to the A2 card, and as you can see, it is completely done. So in this video, this was how I created the 4 Christmas cards using the Taylor Expression Slim Line stencils.